500 Japanese ships appeared on the horizon at 3 in the morning. The Korean admiral watching them had 13. That number, 13 against 500, is the kind of ratio that doesn't belong in a real battle. It belongs in a story someone exaggerated over time, the kind of claim that softens the more you look at it. Except this one gets harder. The closer you examine what happened in the Myeongnyang Strait on October 26, 1597, the more impossible it becomes and the more it forces a question that has no clean answer. What kind of person looks at those numbers and attacks anyway? His name was Yi Sun-sin, and to understand why he was standing on that deck with 13 ships, you need to understand everything that had been done to him before he got there. Japan had launched the largest invasion force in East Asian history 5 years earlier. 158,000 soldiers and a fleet of 700 ships, aimed at a Korean peninsula that was almost completely unprepared. Within 3 weeks of landing, the Japanese had the capital. Within months, Korean armies were collapsing across 3 provinces. The only thing that stopped a complete collapse was one man operating out of the coastal province of Jeolla, a naval commander who had spent the year before the invasion preparing for it, while the rest of the kingdom told itself the threat wasn't real. Yi Sun-sin had no prior naval experience when he was posted to that coastline. He studied the sea, designed tactics from scratch, and spent a year training crews and repairing infrastructure the government had neglected for decades. When the Japanese fleet came, he was ready. Across 23 consecutive engagements, Yi never lost a ship. Using superior artillery range, decoy tactics, and a precise understanding of how currents moved through Korean straits and bays, he destroyed fleet after fleet. His armored turtle ships, spike-roofed, impossible to board, loaded with cannon, became the nightmare of every Japanese commander in the Yellow Sea. By 1593, Yi's navy had strangled Japan's supply lines so effectively that their land armies, stretched across the peninsula without food or reinforcement, could not hold. The first invasion collapsed. Then his own government decided to destroy him. In 1597, Japan sent a spy to the Joseon court with a gift: intelligence that a rival Japanese general could be ambushed and killed at a specific location on a specific date. The court believed it and sent Yi the order to attack. Yi read the report and refused. The location was a known channel where his fleet would be trapped. The intelligence was too precise, too convenient, the kind of information an enemy gives you because they want you to move. He wrote back explaining this in detail. The moment his refusal reached Seoul, the faction that had been waiting for an excuse moved. Yi was arrested that night, brought to the capital in chains, and handed to the king's interrogators. What followed was weeks of it: whipping, flogging, burning, the cudgel, leg breaking. The sources are specific because Yi recorded some of it himself, and because the officials who carried it out kept records of their own. King Seonjo had decided that a commander who refused a royal order deserved death, and the only reason Yi survived was a single minister named Jong-tak, who stood in court and argued that the man who had saved Korea from Japan should not be killed because Japan wanted him gone. The king relented, barely. Yi was stripped to the rank of common infantry soldier and assigned to dig trenches under a general's command. His childhood friend, the prime minister, the man most responsible for Yi's naval career, said nothing during any of it. The double agent had been worth more to Hideyoshi than a fleet. The most dangerous commander in the war was now carrying a spade. The admiral they installed in Yi's place was named Won Gyun. He inherited 166 warships, trained crews, and the tactical systems Yi had refined over 5 years. Within months, Won Gyun had squandered every advantage, sailing into poorly chosen engagements, ignoring intelligence from his own scouts, and, by late August 1597, maneuvering the entire Korean navy into the Chilcheollyang Strait without posting adequate watch. The Japanese had scouts on the surrounding hills. They had been tracking every Korean ship for weeks. The attack came on the night of August 28th under a full moon. 500 ships fell on the anchored fleet while most of the crews were still asleep. Won Gyun died trying to reach shore. By dawn, 153 ships had been sunk or burned. Of the entire Korean Navy that Yi Sun-sin had spent 6 years building, 13 vessels survived, because one cautious captain had anchored his small squadron further from the strait, and the Japanese hadn't found him in the dark. 13 ships. That was what remained. Those 13 ships were now all that stood between Japan's navy and the Yellow Sea. With the western waters open, the Japanese fleet could sail north, cut off Ming Chinese reinforcements marching to Korea's aid, and end the war before winter. Seoul sent Yi a letter suggesting the remaining ships be decommissioned and the sailors transferred to land forces. Yi wrote back, "As long as he was alive, the enemy would not dare underestimate him." What he did in the weeks before the battle matters as much as the battle itself. Yi took command of 13 demoralized crews who had watched their entire navy destroyed in a single night. He flogged cowardly officers back to their stations, posted guards at armories, requisitioned timber, and reinforced the hull of every ship he had. Then he sailed out to study the water. The Myeongnyang Strait was 250 meters wide at its narrowest point, barely enough for 2 ships to pass side by side. The current was the fastest in all of Korea, moving faster than any Japanese vessel could sail against it. More importantly, the current reversed twice a day. Yi spent days charting the exact times of each reversal, noting how the water behaved around the submerged rocks at the channel's mouth. He chose his position at the southern entrance and waited. On October 25th, word arrived. The main Japanese armada was closing in. That night, Yi summoned his commanders. He told them, "He who seeks death shall live. He who seeks life shall die." Nobody in that room believed the odds. Yi had already decided they didn't matter. By dawn on October 26th, 133 Japanese warships were moving toward the strait. Yi ordered the attack the moment the first enemy ships emerged from the channel into open water. His 13 ships formed a line across the southern mouth and opened fire. The Japanese commanders had not expected to find a Korean fleet waiting. Cannon fire from Yi's flagship struck the leading ships before they had finished forming up. Unexpected, precise, without pause. But as the scale of what lay behind them became clear, ship after ship pouring through the narrows in a line that seemed to have no end, Yi's own captains began to slow, then stop. One by one, they fell back from the line. The 13 ships became one. Yi's flagship stood alone. Yi's own captains fell back and left him alone against 133 ships. Drop in the comments. Would you have followed him in or held back? The Japanese flagship drove forward and concentrated everything it had on Yi's single ship. Yi held position, counter-firing, the war drums on his deck beating without stopping. His captains, watching the flagship refuse to move, edged back into formation. 13 ships against 133, ramming, point-blank cannon fire, fire arrows from every direction. The Japanese commander, Kurashima Michifusa, was killed aboard his ship. His head was raised on a mast where the rest of the fleet could see it. Then the tide turned. The Myeongnyang current reversed direction. Japanese ships pressing south through the channel suddenly found the water dragging them backward against their own momentum. Ships bunched together. Some collided, some were pulled onto rocks. Yi ordered the full advance into the turning tide, and for the next hour, his 13 ships moved with the current through a tangled, colliding, panicked fleet that could not maneuver. 31 Japanese warships were destroyed. Not one Korean ship was lost. The surviving fleet withdrew all the way to Busan and did not come west again. Yi rebuilt through the winter. By March of 1598, he had 61 warships ready and 39 more under construction. On land, Ming reinforcements pinned the Japanese armies in their coastal fortresses until the campaign stalled. In September 1598, Toyotomi Hideyoshi died. His final order was to end the war and bring everyone home. Yi blockaded the last Japanese garrison until the final evacuation. At the Battle of Myeongnyang in December 1598, during the pursuit of a fleeing Japanese fleet, a stray arquebus bullet struck him near the left armpit. His son was beside him. Yi felt the wound and knew. He gripped his son's wrist and said, "The battle is at its height. Wear my armor and beat my war drums. Do not announce my death." He died within minutes. His son and nephew carried the body below decks and kept the drums going. The pursuit continued. By the time the Japanese fleet broke and scattered, Yi had been dead for hours. Nobody on the enemy side knew. Nobody on Yi's side let them find out. The king, who had ordered his torture, received the news and showed no grief. Ye Sun-sin fought every engagement of the Imjin War outnumbered, undersupplied, and, during the year that decided the entire conflict, in the service of a government that had tried to have him executed. He won all 23. What is harder to explain, that one man could do what he did, or that the people who needed him most spent years trying to make sure he couldn't? The deeper we dig into the past, the more we understand the present. I'm Zombo, and there's always more to discover.